Yay! Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to another live from Brain Education TV. I have here someone who's very familiar on our channel, my good friend, David Driscoll. He's a brain education instructor.
Hi, everybody.
And the face of Body and Brain TV. Yay.
Yay.
All right, so today we're going to talk about something that's pretty much the essential to our channel.
I think so. It's in the name.
And I can't believe it took us this long to talk about the most basic thing about our channel.
Well, you talk about it every day, a little bit at least.
Yeah, but I don't think we did a video that actually talks about what this thing is.
So some people are still wondering, what is brain education?
Right. They're like, okay, it sounds good. And I think it sounds like it's helping me, but what is it exactly?
Yeah, is it some kind of textbook that I need to study?
Right. Is it a course that I can take online or in person somewhere?
Yeah, what is brain education? Isn't everything education that is actually for your brain? Isn't that brain education? What makes this unique?
Right. So all of these questions that you may have about brain education, we're here to talk about what it is, the background of it, how it's impacted our lives, and what potential we see with brain education in society from here on out.
Wow, this sounds very informative.
I'm very excited for this live, David. And I'm so excited
that
I'm so excited that I'm doing it with David because he's actually been practicing this for way longer than I have. So he's, I would say, an expert on this topic.
Wow, I hope so.
So if I were to invite anybody on the channel to talk about what is brain education, it would be you, David.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, so we have some comments. So yes, if you are tuning in, please type in the chat where you're tuning in from. We always like to see where you guys are coming in from. Kathleen, we see you. Thank you so much for enjoying our channel. And Jyoti, we see you too.
Oh yeah, and then brain fog due to COVID. Yeah, brain fog, anything physical, emotional, mental, all these things are related to how we use the brain, how we respond to these things. So we'll get into that.
Yes. All right. So before we dive into the topic, I want to do a little intro here. As you guys know, if you have been in the lives before, we have a function called the super chat. Yes. And the super chat is your way to show us some love by donating any amounts to our channel to help fund our content, to help fund our activities here on Brain Education TV. So if you particularly enjoy the content and have benefited from it, I encourage you to hit the rectangular button with a currency symbol underneath the line where you type to chat your messages. So in the US, you will see a $sign, and then wherever you are in the world, you will see your currency symbol. If you click that, you can send us some love by donating any amounts that you would like to our channel.
Yeah, much appreciated. And all the great work that BETV is doing is supported by you.
Yes, so thank you all so much. And everyone else that's joining in, thank you. Manish, Bink Mama, and Esosa Rain. I hope I'm saying these names right. I'm sorry if I'm not. All right, so let's dive into the topic.
Let's go.
David. Let's go. Let's get started. So maybe a good place to start is, what is brain education? How would you define brain education?
Well, since that's the title of this live, then that is a good place to start.
I would say so.
So brain education, because it encompasses so many things, it could be a little tricky, but brain education is a comprehensive system of mind-body training, and it's designed to awaken the creative power and potential in your brain. That's really important, is there's creativity in your brain. So we'll talk more about that. There's actually something we call like the creator in your brain that can help you design every aspect of your life the way that you want. And brain education is to help everybody awaken that.
I really like that, because have you in the audience, I know I haven't thought about this before, but have you ever thought that physical health, so the condition of your body, is something that you create? And also, have you thought that your emotional state is also something that you create? And then finally, your mental state is, last but not least, also something that you create. The key here is create, that I create. Because a lot of the times, David, I feel before I met brain education, I just thought that things happen to me in life and they're out of my control, especially if it's somebody else causing me emotional pain, or I want to be healthy, but my hormones are out of whack and my body is gaining weight and it's out of my control. Then you feel like I'm a victim to the circumstance. I'm a victim to people doing this to me, and I'm a victim to people causing me mental stress.
Right.
So it's like, okay, well, if these people are doing this to me, I'm powerless. So do I have to just suck it up? Like, what do I do? And it's making me so miserable. A lot of people get caught up in that victim mentality.
It's really hard sometimes not to, because if we don't understand it completely, or we don't see how we're creating it, it's easy to feel like I'm not creating it. It's something else. And when that happens, in some ways it feels nice to blame something else. Oh, I understand why this happened. That person did this, or science says this. That's about my body. But actually we give up our power, we give up our creativity if we only look at the outside influence.
Yeah. And I think maybe if I were to kind of like draw a conclusion, that a lot of unhappiness and maybe dissatisfaction with your current state, physical, emotional, or mental, something in your life, comes from being in victim mentality, that I can't change it because my husband is doing this to me, or my friend is doing that to me, or my body is doing this to me, or my boss is doing this to me. So I am powerless because other people are doing these things to me. So when you're in that victim mentality, there's really no hope, because I can't change people. I can't change these things. So then does that mean that my life is just set out to be miserable for the rest of my life?
Yeah. And we can still be working really hard to try to improve things, but usually it's directed at other people. Like, why don't the other people love me more? Why don't other people recognize and appreciate me more? Well, if I'm not creating that kind of energy inside myself first, then even if I do get it from outside, it's only temporary.
Yeah.
It's not really something I can trust is going to be there forever.
Right. So the beauty of brain education, where brain education comes in to solve this problem, if you also feel like somewhat of a victim in your life, that things are just happening to you and they're out of your control and you don't know what to do and you feel powerless, the first button that you button for brain education, the foundation of brain education, is the belief that your physical health, emotional state, and mental and or spiritual health is something that you create each and every moment, every single day of your life. Yeah. When you can change your thought from victim to, wait, I have the power to create, seems like such a small thing, but it's a huge shift.
Huge shift. And we can understand that it's there, but really owning it sometimes is challenging. I can understand, oh, maybe my habit every day contributed to the way my body feels now. Maybe I should change that. But there's so many other things. When you really accept it, then it's challenging. Like, oh, I got to get up early, or I got to make time, even though I don't feel like it, to do some exercise or to eat differently. And then we get challenged. But through that challenge, that's where we get some of the power to awaken that creative life, that creator inside of us.
Yeah. And I would say when you can shift that consciousness and that awareness, that you are the owner of your brain and you have the power to determine how you create your life, that is really the foundation and starting point of when you really start to live.
And when you start to live, so we're talking about, okay, this creator exists inside of me, and I should be the owner of my life. And what do I want? What do I want to create? What do you want to create? If I don't even know that, then it's hard to feel motivated. Here's one tip, or one thing about brain education is it's personal. It's very much about me and my life and my brain, but it's also about the outside, the community, the earth, other people, and how I influence them. So if you're having a hard time feeling motivated about your own change, how about helping others? Is there something that you really care about to change in the world or to help other people deal with? Then that can also be a good motivation for your own change inside.
Right. It gives the why.
The why, the big picture.
Yeah.
And we need both.
Right.
So one of the things about brain education is also, if you do want to change the world, if you want to make it more peaceful, if you want people to be healthier in general, you've got to be able to create some of that inside yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to be working on it and learning what it takes to create that energy for yourself, because that's what other people are going to really sometimes learn the most from, is what you did, not necessarily just what you say.
Right. And then also, just piggybacking off of that, is how can you truly help people if you don't know how to help yourself too, right?
Right.
Because we can only deliver as much as we know.
Yeah, and knowing from up here is very quick and easy, but kind of surface level. Like I read a book about diet, or I read a book about exercise. So I know a lot from the book, but does that mean that I've actually studied it with my body or with my emotions in a way that other people might feel? Maybe not yet.
Mhm. Yeah, because I think just being healthy isn't really the end goal for myself, right? Because of course, in the first stage, you might want to be healthy. For me, before brain education, I was unhealthy. I had a lot of hormonal problems. So for me, the first motivation was I wanted to be healthy. But then moving on from there, the real purpose of brain education is not so that only I can be healthy, because what good is it if it's just me? And if this good feeling that I have can't be delivered to other people, what's the meaning of that?
Right. And also, even if I'm healthy, but if my community is really not healthy, like everybody's angry, everybody's stressed out, then my health is going to be very fragile because I'm affected by the world around me. So ultimately, we need to work with each other because we're affected by each other a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the real goal. Is it opens up a lot of doors. And if you're struggling to feel like you have any creative power in your life because of the things that are happening to you, maybe start with one thing. Just start with one thing that you can focus on, that maybe you have some idea how to take action on, and start practicing brain education with that one thing. If it's exercise, if it's diet, if it's a meditation, if it's some kind of relationship thing, practice using your brain well in that one area, and it'll open up doors in many other areas where you can see your power.
Yeah. All right. So now that we kind of have a working definition of brain education, I want to share with you guys the background of how this came to be.
Great idea.
Yeah. And how we got involved with brain education too.
Yep.
All right. So you guys, if you have been following this channel, you already know him, but the person who created brain education, his name is Il-Chi Lee. So Il-Chi Lee is a meditation expert, and he's also a New York Times bestselling author from Korea. Since 1980, so let me go before that, before 1980. So Il-Chi Lee is someone who has struggled with ADHD his whole life. So he's one of those people, you might think that, oh, he must have been born extraordinary to be a New York Times bestselling author and born extraordinary to do these things. But actually, he says that, no, I was born with ADHD and I struggled in school my whole life. He said
he wasn't a good student.
Never a good student. And actually, he was such a bad student that his teachers said, you would amount to nothing. You are hopeless and you will be nobody in society. Which,
teachers are working hard to try to help kids. And if they say that, there's a lot of frustration.
Yeah, and the teacher sat Il-Chi Lee's parents down. His father was actually a principal of a school.
So a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. They sat his parents down and said, your son will amount to nothing.
His father must have been devastated.
Right. So he struggled his whole life to find self-confidence and to find some meaning in his life. So when he turned 30, he went through the traditional route of what society told him to do. He got married, he had kids, he got a job, he went to college, checked off all the boxes that society said you need to do these things to be successful, to be worthy, happy. To be happy. Right. He checked off all those boxes, and at the age of 30, he was like, you know what? I checked off all these boxes, but something still doesn't feel right. Something still feels like it's missing. I'm missing some kind of important thing in my life.
I bet a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, I totally relate to that story too. So at the age of 30, he said, I'm going to find the answer to this if I die trying. So he went up to the mountain, he did intense practice. And then after 21 days of intense practice of going within himself to find the answers, he discovered something very important. He discovered the value of his existence. The enlightenment that he had in his brain was cosmic energy is my energy, cosmic mind is my mind. So that is a really fancy way to say, I am one with the universe. I am the universe and the universe is me.
Wow. So yeah, oneness.
Yeah.
People talk about oneness.
Right.
But he did meditation and training, and then he really felt that.
Right. And to break it down even less or even smaller, if the universe is too big, it's like other people are like me, I am like other people. Trees, nature, everything, life itself on earth is like me, and I am like life itself too, which means that anybody has potential to feel what I'm feeling and to awaken to what I've awakened to through my practice. So from there, he felt motivated to deliver this awakening to people. And so he's been researching for many, many years, and he really discovered that the answer that he found on that mountain came from his brain.
Right. And it's kind of like simple to say, but this profound like spiritual experience almost happens in our brain.
Yeah.
And every one of us has a brain,
yeah.
Which means, I think what you're saying, the potential for that deep oneness experience is in each one of our brains.
Right. And
but how do we get it? How do we like get there?
Yes. And the beauty of that is, like David said, since everybody has a brain, it doesn't discriminate based on gender, religion, social class. It doesn't matter. They're material things. Different social classes can have different things, but every single human being, as long as you're alive, even dead people actually have a brain. So everybody has a brain, which means that anybody can really discover themselves and connect within to find their own value, to find that creative potential within themselves to create the life that they want. So when Il Chili discovered that part, he said, okay, this is how I'm going to really modernize and make it realistic for people to accept and practice this awakening that he had, that the universe is me and I'm the universe.
So you don't have to go to the mountains for 21 days and do meditation and then have like this profound just enlightenment experience?
Good news is not at all.
Not at all? Okay.
Maybe you're into that kind of stuff, but me personally, I don't think I can do it.
I think most people might have to quit their job if it required 21 days in the mountains.
Right. Yes.
Not easy.
Not easy at all. But yeah, since Il Chili said it's not realistic for most people to do that, to go into the mountains and to meditate and to find themselves. So by introducing the brain and introducing the spiritual potential of the brain, but then backing that up with scientific research, because he always wanted to make this enlightenment realistic. That's something that he emphasizes a lot. So something about the brain, it's very esoteric, it's hard to understand. And a lot of people think that maybe only neuroscientists know about the brain. But actually, what Il Chili did was get his energy kind of experience and principles, and then did some research in neuroscience, and then merged these two together to bring some substantial, I guess, backing or substantial information that solidifies the energy principle that could feel a little bit esoteric.
Yeah, because the energy experiences, even if you try to put it into words, if any of you have done energy meditation or meditation with breathing, it's hard to just explain it with words, but our brains also like understanding. So I think Il Chili, as you're saying, has taken the evidence that neuroscientists have accumulated and said, well, you know, this might explain some of that energy and meditation experience that we, not just him, but many people have expressed over the years when they do spiritual practice or meditation, things like that.
Yeah, so then that developed into creating a term. He said, okay, now I need to make this a word so that people can know what I'm trying to explain. So then he said, okay, I'm going to call this brain education. Why brain education? Because this is education to learn the full potential of your brain. It's different from neuroscience, because neuroscience breaks down the brain into scientific things. It is about 2 pounds. It has about however many trillion neurons. Like it's very like
this connects to this,
yes,
and this
very
should work like
factual.
this.
Yeah.
And that's, as you said, it's very helpful as like a anatomical background. But in our daily lives, how often do you or I or you guys actually think about neuroscience and like how it's affecting your day?
Or how useful is the fact that you know that your brain is 2 pounds in your life? Does that like solve any problems in your life?
Yeah, right. Or I know that there's 3 trillion neurons firing. Like
Right.
it's impressive, but
What does that do?
but I have stress because of something somebody said to me today. What do I do with that? It's a
Mhm.
little bit of a gap. So brain education is kind of closing that gap. And it reminds me of one story. So Ilchi Lee went to the United Nations,
Mm.
and Ilchi Lee has been talking about how do we achieve personal well-being and also collective peace. Been talking about this for a long time. So I think in 2000,
Yeah,
2001,
year 2000, the new millennium.
new millennium, there was a conference at the UN about creating a more peaceful planet, and many spiritual leaders and influencers were there. And I think the takeaway that Ilchi said from that meeting was there's so many great ideas. There's so many people with a vision of peace, but there's some gap between all of these great ideas that people learn about and our ability to actually create peace, starting with myself, but in real communities. So when he left the UN in 2000, I heard that he said, when I come back here next, I'm not going to come back just to talk about peace again. I'm going to share some actual training, some techniques, some curriculum that we can do to create that energy of peace. And I believe that that was where brain education really took off.
Yeah. Yeah. So brain education is basically a lifestyle. So he created this it started with an idea, it started with an experience, and then he created step-by-step methods, training methods and principles and different academic fields and research to give you ways to practice this experience in your life so that he can share what he awakened to about the power of his brain in us. Because we too, we often think that this kind of stuff is only for extraordinary people, but what I really love and resonate about Ilchi practice is that anybody with a brain has this latent potential inside. We just need to learn how to tap into it. And the way to tap into it is using energy, connecting with myself, and using that sixth sense that goes beyond my 5 senses of the physical body.
Mm-hmm. And I think all of us want that. Like we need that sometimes when we're facing challenges or we're getting stuck. We want that potential to break through and be more creative. And if it feels like we don't have that inside, it can be very hopeless. But when we know it's inside, that's actually a starting point to try again, to focus on myself a little bit deeper. So just knowing that is a good starting place.
Yeah. So do you guys have any questions so far about brain education? I know this is a lot of information to try to digest, but what comes to your mind? What resonates with you the most, or what is still unclear? Anything that you want to ask us about brain education, if you could type in the chat, please let us know. And then as we continue with this live, we will answer your questions about brain education.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have anything so far?
Yes.
Can we transform our subconscious mind
through brain education and tap? Yes, because in your subconscious mind, there's a lot of memories, emotions that are stored deep within that we don't really even realize how big of an effect they have on our behavior and thoughts and perceptions of people.
That's right. So, go ahead.
But brain education through the energy work, the meditation, it helps you go into your subconscious, a part of your brain that you can't access with your thinking, go into your subconscious and then have some kind of resolution with these things. Mm-hmm. Have some kind of like understanding and have some kind of compassion for yourself experiencing these things so that you can finally let go of these unresolved emotions and negative thoughts that have been deep inside of your mind.
That's absolutely. So this specifically, can we transform our subconscious mind through brain education and tapping techniques? The answer is definitely yes, because as Linda said, your subconscious mind is really the accumulation of information and experience that you've taken in. And some of that may not be information that's useful to you anymore. But we don't have direct access just by thinking about it to make our subconscious change. It's kind of protected. It's like password protected. There's a firewall between our thinking brain, because our thinking brain goes up and down and here and there, and we want one thing and then another thing. If our subconscious deep mind changed every time our thinking mind changed, we would have a very unstable life. So it's kind of protected in there, but to get access and meet with it, there are brain education techniques, including tapping, which will help you make the connection and kind of plant the seeds of new information in your subconscious mind, especially over time.
Yeah, that's a really good, great question.
Yeah, I like that.
So if you have any other questions about brain education, or if everything is clear, even if you guys can just type everything is clear, that would help me to make sure that this is getting through properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot.
Right, there's a lot. So don't be shy. If things are not clear, say unclear, or if it's clear, please say clear so we know that it's clear enough for you.
So I think one of the things that can be helpful about understanding what is brain education is how is it being used?
Yeah.
Where and how are people like really concretely putting this to use in the world?
Right, because you know, a lot of people think that it's just our channel that does brain education.
I'm sure you, yeah.
They think I'm the only instructor out there.
She's not the only one. She's probably the most famous one besides Il-Chi Li.
I'm just one out of like, I think thousands around the world.
Oh yeah, there are definitely thousands of people professionally teaching and utilizing brain education. And then just for their own experience, there's hundreds of thousands of people who've utilized brain education.
Yeah, so please tell us, David, how brain education is being used around the world so that our audience here can understand that brain education is like a global thing that has way more people than what you see on the channel and has done way more work internationally than what we have shown on the channel so far.
Yeah, well, I think you can get the idea of the diversity by looking at a couple of the organizations, a couple of the campaigns. First of all, there is body and brain yoga, which is kind of just a personal health and wellness practice.
Excuse me.
So body and brain yoga utilizes brain education through Korean kind of yoga and stretching, through Tai Chi or Qigong, breathing and meditation, but with an understanding of the brain and how these traditional techniques affect our brain. So it's that area, kind of your personal health and wellness. And then there's an organization known as IBREA. And IBREA is a nonprofit organization, International Brain Education Association. And they focus on using this curriculum, this system, to empower especially kids and teachers in a lot of communities around the world where there might be suffering from violence or other issues which make it really hard to have kind of a safe and productive learning environment. It's this idea that empowering students and teachers personally is one of the ways that you can help improve that overall situation. And brain education has been really well received and effective, especially in places like El Salvador, Central America, where the schools faced a lot of difficulty. Kind of non-traditional, what we might not, in the US, we might not think of too often, but it's a very common thing around the world with violence, drugs, poverty.
Yeah, people who don't make it past elementary school.
You know, kids who are dealing with issues that we really feel like kids shouldn't have to deal with, like family members in jail, people being murdered, like this kind of thing can affect, obviously, your education. And if you're not able to deal with that stress, then it can affect your whole life. Right. So IBREA is doing a lot of good work there. And there's also the Earth Citizens Organization, ECO, and they focus on, again, personal empowerment and education about how to live a healthy, sustainable life, that communities can be in balance with the earth, with nature, and we can have a future that where the earth is healthy and we're living kind of in harmony with that. So ECO does a lot of education, and they run sustainable farming center in Arizona. So they're doing a lot of stuff that's kind of in a different area. It's very different. Yoga, UN, nonprofit work, sustainability and farming, but all of this utilizes brain education. So it can be utilized in many different places.
Right, which is why we say it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a way to live your life, to live as the creator of your life, to live as the master of your life, to truly live as the owner of your life in all these different realms, whether it's physical health, emotional health, mental health, and then also going beyond that, the health of my community,
Oh yeah.
health of my family, and then going beyond that, the health of the world, nation, and world together. So brain education has that big dream that starts with my personal health, and then going from there, radiating out like a ripple in the lake to my family, to my community, to my country, to my society, and to all of humanity.
Yeah, the whole planet. So you'll hear Linda and other guests and me talk a lot about how you are feeling and connecting, with yourself and what kind of energy you're creating, because that's the beginning. Is it has to be happening inside of you if you want to have a better life, want a different world. If you look at the world and you think, I wish it would change, I wish this was different, you got to create the energy that you want to see more of in the world. And brain education is really, as we say, about awakening the creator inside of you. Right. To do that.
It's like the quote by Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world.
It's really exactly like that. Or the movie The Secret, the book The Secret, is like thoughts become things that happens inside of you. It happens inside of you. So there's got to be this kind of system working here.
Yeah. So I see a message in the chat. Thank you very much for your answer, David. I practice tapping techniques through your videos daily and it helped me so much. Great.
Thank you. Begum? Is that right? Begum?
Yeah, please let us know. From Turkey.
From Turkey. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, keep practicing. Daily practice. That's why I say for the subconscious mind, it's not going to change all at once usually. Right. It usually responds to sincere and consistent effort. That's what's necessary if you want the deeper layers of the brain to change.
Yes. All right, so now that we talked about the background of brain education, the definition, and how it's being used around the world, I think it's a good time for us to now share our personal experience with brain education, because I think that little bits and pieces of our story, people are going to resonate with who are watching.
Yeah, you guys might catch something from like Linda's personal story.
Yeah, and then once you resonate with how it helped our lives, maybe you can see like, oh, you know what? I'm going through that too. So maybe brain education will help me in that aspect as well.
Right. So how did you find brain education? What did that come from for you?
Yeah, so how I got started with brain education, I will start from my childhood. So I'll kind of give a summary of my childhood. So I grew up in a very strict Asian household where academics was number one and success was number one. And I had 3 choices of careers that I can take: doctor, lawyer, or failure.
Oh,
doctor, lawyer.
Which one did you want to choose?
Doctor, lawyer, or failure. That were my only options.
So you had actually 2 choices.
Yes, but my life was looking towards the failure because I didn't want to be a doctor and I didn't want to be a lawyer. So the only other option was failure.
Oh no.
And I'm the oldest daughter out of 3 kids. So I have 2 younger brothers. So not only did I have the pressure to perform academically and the pressure of choosing doctor, lawyer, or failure, I also had the added pressure of I felt like I need to be a model for my brothers. So that's all to say that I was under tremendous pressure that I put on myself, and then also I felt like society was putting on me and my family was putting on me. And then from there, I developed a lot of stress, I developed a lot of anxiety, and I developed a lot of anger because I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to have all this pressure. I didn't want basically all the circumstances that were happening in my life. And in my family, it wasn't really encouraged to express yourself. It's kind of like suck it up and press on kind of attitude.
Yeah, just success.
Yes, and just keep going no matter what. So I didn't know how to process my emotions and process my thoughts in a healthy way. And then I also had a lot of anger from my parents are immigrants. So they brought a lot of like traditional Korean ideas into the house. And me being a second generation here, I had a lot of American values, and those like East Asian Korean values and American values clashed a lot.
Little different.
Clashed a lot throughout my life, and I couldn't even express myself in that because it wasn't encouraged. So I built up a lot of anger, a lot of rage, a lot of sadness at the same time, all throughout elementary school, middle school, and high school. And then when all of those emotions mixed with puberty hit in high school, it was a volcano waiting to explode. So I went away for college. And then in college, because I went away from the house, that's when everything unleashed, exploded.
Freedom.
All the emotions exploded. And I spent 4 years just wandering physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care if I died. I was in that kind of mentality. I was kind of in an F it mentality.
For 4 years.
Because I didn't know how else to process these emotions.
Sure. Yeah. It feels like this is my life.
Right. And then because I didn't know how to process these emotions, I also had a deep, deep lack of self-respect and self-confidence. Even though I was performing in school academically, I did well in school. It's a strange thing, even though like even valedictorians have self-confidence issues.
Oh yeah, sometimes very, very big.
Yeah. So it was a strange thing for me to see. I was performing academically. I was doing all these things, checking all the boxes, but I still didn't like myself. I still didn't like my life. And I was still angry. I still had no self-love, no self-respect, no self-confidence. So I wandered a lot in college, but then at the end of college, I came to a point when I walked across the graduation stage, a thought came to me and it said, I can't live like this anymore because this is not the kind of life that I want. After I wandered a lot in college, by the end of college where I was at physically, I had hormonal issues. As I mentioned in the beginning of this live, I had hormonal issues because my body system was out of whack to the point where I wasn't getting my period for like 6 months. Yeah, and there was nothing that would, like, I wasn't pregnant, you know? So, and because my hormones were out of whack and I wasn't getting my period for like 6 months at a time, I was breaking out so badly all across my face. I was gaining weight, and then I became allergic to a lot of different foods. So basically, it was a domino effect. My life was crumbling before my eyes. And at the end of college, I said, I can't live like this anymore. So thankfully, my mom had started this thing called brain education before I even knew about it. And I didn't know that she was practicing brain education at that time. But what I did know was, for some strange reason, like a few years back, I remember I could clearly see this woman changing.
Right.
I didn't know what she was doing, and I didn't really care at the time because I was in such like a deep hole myself. But I could totally tell my mom's facial expression started to change.
Yeah, with family, you don't even need an explanation. You can totally feel any change.
Her face started to get brighter, and the way she would talk started to change. And it didn't feel like a fake change. It felt like a genuine change. So I was like, well, I don't know what she's doing, but it seems to be good. And it seems to be working. And if my mom's happy, whatever, I just left her alone.
Right.
But when I was in my dark stage, I remembered that. I was like, you know what? I don't want to live like this anymore, but I don't know what to do to get out of this. But hey, you know what? My mom's doing something, and I know that it's changing her. I can see it in her face. So I don't know what it's about, but let me ask her to see what she's doing. Because I want my face to become bright like that. So I asked my mom what she was doing, and then she told me about brain education. She told me about the body and brain yoga centers where she first experienced brain education. And then she told me about her changes and told me about what she felt. And I was at first all skeptical. Because I'm a very naturally.
So it wasn't love at first mentioned?
Not at all. Because I'm a very left brain person. I'm one of those, like, I have to see it to believe it. I don't believe in energy. I don't believe in this hoo-ha until I see it. Right. And I don't believe anything except data and research and science. Right. So when she talks about energy and connecting to yourself, I was like, okay, this is BS. But you know what? I'm at rock bottom. I have nowhere else to go.
Wow.
So I followed her to a body and brain yoga studio, and it was a very unfamiliar experience for me because there's a lot of techniques that we use in brain education that are non-traditional because it makes you break the mold break your preconceptions, break your limitations. Yeah, as you saw in our YouTube channel, brainwave vibration, tapping, this is non-traditional things.
Right. A little weird.
Yeah,
actually.
a little bit better now, but like 10 years ago when I started, this
Really
was
weird.
not this was not the business, right?
Right.
So long story short, I started with the body and brain practice. I got familiar with brain education, and slowly as I did this practice, something indescribable happened to me. And that indescribable thing was my whole life, I felt like I had a big gaping hole in my chest. And I couldn't explain why. No matter how many A's I got, no matter how much money I had, no matter how many friends I had, no matter how many parties I went to, no matter how many things I tried to put in here, that gaping hole only became bigger and bigger and bigger. And I couldn't explain it. But with brain education, with this mind-body work that I started to do, with connecting with myself and connecting with other people in the community who are going through similar things like me, and learning about my brain, learning that I can create my life, learning that I can take control of this hormonal issue and that I can reverse it through different ways to talk to myself, different energies that I can have within me, something started to change. And that thing was, I will never forget this moment, this gaping hole in my chest that I've had my whole life started to fill up. I couldn't describe it, but it was a feeling like this hole was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And when I felt that, there was no going back, because I tried so hard, so long to fill that hole, and nothing else could do it except for this strange thing called brain education.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me of Tony Robbins. He says, what we're really looking for is a feeling. Like what we really want is a feeling. And once you get that feeling, it's like anything is worth this. This is where I want to be.
So after I felt that, I said, this is it. This is where I want to be. Like you said, this is what I want to commit my life to. So I quit my job that I had before. I was working as an event coordinator in Hollywood, living a glitzy, glammy life that looks so cool to other people, but I still had this big gaping hole in my heart. So I quit that and I moved to Sedona, Arizona, and I said, I'm going to be an instructor because I want other people who are feeling this hole in my chest to know that they can change. And I want to be a source of inspiration for those people by first healing myself. So now it's been about 9 years since that moment, since I moved to Sedona and I decided to become an instructor. So after, there were a lot of ups and downs in my journey, because the spiritual growth is never linear. It's always up and down, up and down, up and down, as any growth in life. But over the 9 years, it's been hasn't been anything more rewarding than this. I can truly say that from the bottom of my heart. And now I'm in a place where I love myself, I respect myself, and I trust myself, and I have a connection with myself, and I feel like I'm doing something good for the world. And I feel like I'm doing something that people need. So I'm sharing that on this YouTube channel, and I've kind of taken it as like my personal mission to help people who are feeling the things that I once felt too, and let them know that, hey, if you know the power of your brain, if you can connect with that, then there's hope. You're not a lost cause. So
I think you must have a lot of work now.
Lots of work.
I think you must be working harder than ever, but
yes.
I'm guessing it's more fulfilling and you're more energized.
Yes, I'm working harder than ever, but my smile is bigger than ever.
And that's, isn't that like what we want? Like we all say we want relaxation and something easy, but don't you feel most alive when you've got a purpose, and especially when you feel like you're helping people and that when you're doing what you really are meant to be doing? So it sounds like you found that.
Yes. So that is my brain education experience story.
Wow.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Wow. Everybody is so lucky. She's a great storyteller too.
So let me answer this one question. So Kathleen, is it beneficial to do just a few minutes of brain exercise if you don't have the time? Yes. A little bit is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Just like when you're hungry, even though you might not have time to eat a meal, eating a little bit of snack here and there is better for your hunger than not eating anything at all, right? So don't think black and white. Don't try to be perfect. Don't think if I can't do 1 hour of brain exercise, I'm going to do nothing. It's not black or white. If you can't do an hour, do 30 minutes. If you can't do 30 minutes, do 5 minutes. If you can't do 5 minutes, do 1 minute. If you can't do 1 minute, do 10 seconds.
If you can't do 10 seconds, just smile.
Like this and then done.
Yeah, you can do that. And then even if you're in a meeting or something and you need to change your brain, you just smile.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain will change, your hormones change. Maybe you heard that before. That's also brain education. It's intentional.
Yeah.
So just a few minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can do it, Kathleen.
Do it. Your brain is watching.
Yes. All right, David, now I want to hear your story.
Brain education story.
Yes, of how you changed and got involved with brain education.
Changed. Yeah, I wasn't expecting, because some of you may have seen the video that was here on BTV. I was brought up where, you have to succeed. Also, in some ways, like Linda mentioned, the pressure. But also that's at the time what I wanted. I wanted to succeed. And when I got recognition for that, it felt really good. So that was kind of like my pattern. I was hooked on it. Try hard, push yourself to the limit, and then get recognition, feel good, do it again. And it worked for a while. It worked up until high school, actually. And in high school, I was a pretty successful athlete, and I was a good student. And I got into a good college. And
He went to Princeton, by the way.
I went to Princeton, but right before college, right?
Like Ivy League Princeton.
Yeah, that one. Harvard, Yale, and Princeton.
Yes, that one.
But right before I got there was when I kind of hit my first limit. And it was in sports, I injured my knee, badly. And it was just kind of like, oh, my body should just do what I want it to do. Like, this is important. Why is it getting injured and limiting me? I didn't get it. I didn't get that you had to take care of your body. So that threw a wrench into my plans, and I couldn't be an athlete first. So then, okay, I'm going to be more creative, and I'm going to do lots of different things. So in college at Princeton, I basically did everything that there was to do. I did music, I did breakdancing, I changed my major 3 times, 4 times. I switched into engineering my junior year.
Wow.
In college, and the advisor, the professor said, I think this is a bad idea. I think you're going to be back here switching out of engineering next semester. And I said, no way, I'm all about this. And then next semester I was back switching out of engineering, like he had said. So I did that a lot. I tried a lot of different things. And inside, honestly, I was pretty depressed. Because the more I did, the less fulfilled I felt.
Interesting.
I felt empty, and I just did more and more and more and more. So I finished college and didn't know what to do. I thought maybe just do more school, like try to keep going on this path and see if I feel better again. But I came back to Chicago, where I'm from, and one of my symptoms of depression was I didn't want to be anywhere for a long time. I didn't want to like work at a certain place. So I had 6 different jobs, part-time jobs, and I'd go from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And it just so happened that I found an ad for working in a yoga studio. And I thought yoga felt really good in college, so I'll try that while I'm doing these other things. And I got there, and it turned out to be like the feeling that I had been looking for. And also I saw, oh, this brain education is really looking at why my brain is depressed. And not just like looking at the chemistry or the psychology of it, but what I can do about it. So I knew that was really important, and I started teaching and practicing. And I said to myself, as long as there's some challenge with my brain and I'm studying this brain education, I'm not going to give up, because I can see there's more potential to awaken myself. And I still, even to this day, I think it's been 16 years.
Wow.
I still face some challenges. My brain still has some habits that I would like to be more the creator of, not the follower of. And so I'm still working on it. And I I recently had a chance to really deeply reflect, and I saw, wow, I have changed. I'm much more positive when I'm faced with uncertainty than I used to be. I'm much more compassionate to myself when I'm not strong, when I make a mistake. And I'm much more creative than I used to be. When I'm facing problems, I can see my brain automatically find some solution, whereas before it would get really stuck and frustrated and maybe give up. So those things, it's so rewarding to see a change inside yourself. In my experience, it's like 100 times more powerful than people saying from the outside, oh, you've changed, you look good, you're doing great. Because I know sometimes they can't see the real thing inside what's going on. But when I see inside what changed, it's like nothing can shake that. So as I said, there's still lots to work on, but I'm really grateful for this brain education practice. And also I'm excited about what kind of changes are going to come in the future.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my story.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it's so interesting because as you mentioned, there's hundreds of instructors and every single instructor has their own story, own unique reason and method of how they got involved. So we're going to be featuring more of the instructor stories on our channel. So stay tuned for that.
You're right. It's like every human being is an incredible person, even if sometimes on the outside they hide it, you know, but if you give the chance, they open up. It's really amazing.
All right, let's answer some questions here. So Core Love, what is brain education? Core Love, I think maybe you joined in the middle of this broadcast. So we're going to have a recording of this.
Yeah, go back to the beginning.
Recording of this on our channel. So please rewatch it from the beginning.
Because we give the like definition and then some examples and then everything.
Yeah, so make sure you watch it from the beginning.
And then do all of the brain education videos awaken the vagus nerve?
Not all of them. You probably saw the one that awakened the vagus nerve. So belly button healing, and we have a vagus nerve activation video, but not all of the videos here are designed to activate the vagus nerve. No.
Although, like indirectly, a lot of the techniques you will see that focus on the core, the gut, abdomen, you can imagine that, yes, there's some activation of this central nervous system and the digestive system, which is close to the vagus nerve. How about that one?
Our friend from Turkey.
Yeah. If we manage our brain, can we attract more love in our life? Like true love? That's a great question. Can managing your brain bring something like love? I
think so. And the reason why I say that is because if you are somebody who knows how to create their own health, happiness, and peace no matter what, the vibe, the energy that you radiate out is completely different.
Yeah.
And people get attracted, yes, to like your face and physical things. That is one aspect, but people get attracted to energy. So if you are really beautiful and you're putting out like really negative, nasty energy, then maybe that attraction is only so much and it won't go far. But if you are radiating a different kind of bright light, people get attracted to that brightness, and that brightness radiates from somebody who knows that they're the master of their lives, somebody who has self-confidence, somebody who knows and trusts that their body, emotions, and mind is working with them. That kind of person exudes a totally different energy that people get attracted to.
I totally agree. And if you're asking about true love, like what is true love? You know, obviously it's not just physical attraction.
Right.
It's not even just emotional attraction, because if you're truly in love with someone, there's going to be moments when there's fights and like love is still there. Whereas if it's just, I like this person and I don't like them anymore.
Right. After one fight.
Yeah. So I think it's really true that if you practice brain education, if you manage your brain well, then at some point you get to choose, do I love myself? Or that awakening comes like, yeah, I really do. I like myself and I love myself.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of energy that's going to attract that too in your life outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Good question.
Yeah. All right. So David, I want to ask now, okay, we've heard the stories. So going forward from here, what does brain education mean for the 21st century? How does this apply to our lives right now?
I think that's a great question. And like Ilchi Lee, the founder, he makes a point that this era in history is really important, that we need to collectively wake up that creator, and we can't just wait. And I personally believe that's really true because of the environment, because of the social issues, and just the way that people feel. I think it's really a hard time for many people. We need to awaken that power. So I think brain education is going to become more and more normal, where people look at how they're using their brain and how they're feeling and what they're projecting into the world, and they take that seriously.
Mhm.
I think that's becoming a big thing.
Yeah. And something that Ilchili also does mention is that if you just see out in the world, there's so much despair and hopelessness. There's a war going on right now. There's inflation. There's so many more problems that keep coming out of society.
And we hear about them all the time.
Yeah. So why is it that we, who are more technologically advanced than ever, and more wealth is existing than ever, why does that kind of world produce more despair, more suffering? These atrocities that should not be happening in 2022, why are they happening now? And Ilchili, when he looks at the world, he says it's because ultimately, it's not because we're not wealthy, it's not because we're not advanced, it's because people who are in power and people who are not in power are doing what they're doing in life without awakening that divine nature, that creative potential in their brain. In other words, they are not using their brain for good.
Wow. And it reminded me of something else that I've heard talked about a lot, which is the rise of artificial intelligence. And some people love the idea of artificial intelligence because it'll make things faster and smarter. And other people are really afraid of it for obvious reasons. And one of those reasons is, if artificial intelligence is so much smarter than us, like calculation and memory and analysis, then what is our real value as a human being? And has our own growth of intelligence and calculation power, which we have experienced a lot of, has it really solved our deepest problems? And like you say, I think the answer is no, it doesn't fundamentally solve the problems. It may make it easier to apply solutions. Like some things have gotten better, but at the root, it's a human creative energy that actually solves these root problems. And that is something I think it's fair to say that artificial intelligence will not reproduce. It will not really be able to handle. That's something that human beings have, and it comes from what we're talking about, that creator inside, the ability to have true empathy, true creativity, and oneness sense. All of those things, artificial intelligence, no matter how much it calculates, I don't think it will recreate that. I think that's something that human beings have, and we have to share a lot of, and the world really needs it.
Yeah.
So I see that being a guiding force.
Right. So we don't need any more doctors, lawyers, scientists, although I'm not saying that they're not important. If you are a doctor, lawyer, and scientist, I'm not downgrading your job at all. But my point is, we don't need any more smart people.
Not just smart.
Yeah, just smart people who don't really have conscience.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah.
We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need politicians, we need bankers, we need everybody. And everybody do their job, live in their community with that creator, that oneness.
Right.
Then anybody, whether you're the highest position in a company or the lowest rank in some society, like there's some power there that people really need.
Right. So conscience is what we need.
Yeah,
healers.
I think so too.
So doctors who have that healing spirit, lawyers who have the healing spirit, scientists and politicians who have that healing spirit, by activating that creativity in their brain, activating a positive area of their brain. These people need to be empowered. These people need to be the ones who are leading society. So more than anything, we need people to recover their conscience and to live by using the full potential of their brain for good.
That's right.
In the world.
And one of the things I've heard from the Earth Citizens Organization is this talk of no matter how much we feel like people in power are making all the decisions, ultimately it's still the voters, the consumers, the common population that chooses to some extent. And so what we really value and what we show through our actions, our votes, through our buying, that will ultimately change the policies and decisions of the people in power. So it's up to each one of us to have that kind of interest and feeling what is important to me.
Yeah, great. So if you have any questions about this, please type in the chats about what we've discussed so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have a question from Core Love. Can you touch on using binaural beats and other sound techniques for deep states of consciousness to use brain entertainment technology? It can be very useful to get into deep states of consciousness for people who are new to meditation, also for focus. We can use these brainwave states to our advantage during brain games. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. We say in brain education that there are 3 ways for you to access energy: light, sound, and vibration. Things like binaural beats are sound and vibration. And using those forms of energy, you can experience deep healing and activate, like you said, Core Love, deeper states of consciousness for healing. So yes, we do believe in that kind of stuff, but we don't have like binaural beat music per se, but we do have our own deep drumming music that we practice for the same effect, to get deep into your subconscious for when we do brain education type trainings.
Yeah, you know what's so awesome is that a lot of the traditional kind of drumming techniques that many cultures had for thousands of years around the world, they also activate the brainwaves in a similar way to some of the modern binaural beats and hemisync and all of that stuff. Like, this is something that human beings have been doing for generations, for thousands of years. Yeah. And yes, we have technology to help us. And wherever you're doing that, whatever you're using, I think one of the key components is this idea of the creator inside and that sincerity. We can use a tool and may feel some benefit, but ultimately it's myself, my connection inside, that's producing the real healing or the real awakening. So every tool can be used, quite well, but if it's just a tool and we don't use that connection inside, then it may be just a tool.
Yeah. All right, so we're just about ready to wrap up this live. It's been about an hour so far. So before we go, David, can you answer, how can someone, let's say that they listen to this live from the beginning to the end and they're like, you know what, this is great, I love it, and I want to get involved, I'm going to try it out myself. Can you guide our audience on some ways that they can take part or experience brain education?
I would be happy to. The first one is obviously to subscribe to this channel, BETV, because you'll get more discussions, a chance to do Q&A live with Linda and with other brain education instructors. You'll also see practices that you can follow and put into your daily routine on video. So I highly recommend following, subscribing, and clicking the notification bell so that you get an announcement when one of these lives is happening. And then for a little bit more material, a little bit more practice, you can go over to the YouTube channel that I help manage, which is Body and Brain TV. And you'll see some of the Korean yoga, meditation, breathing, and Tai Chi classes and techniques that we use in body and brain centers around the country.
Make sure you subscribe, click like, and the bell for notifications on that channel as well.
Yep, we would love to hear. And if you watch the videos, comment. I'm sure Linda as well. We love to see the comments and questions or the way you've been applying these techniques. So you've got YouTube, you can use that. For those of you who want, and I can't stress this enough, like one-on-one personal interaction in-person classes, body and brain centers around the country utilize brain education through that Korean yoga, meditation, breathing, Tai Chi, and they do classes every day, online and offline usually. So check them out, and you can get started with an instructor and kind of just learn about it in a one-on-one session. Then what else? We have also our brain education utilizing community, which includes nonprofits like Ibrea, which I mentioned before, and you can check them out in the world. They're doing great work around the world. There's also Sedona Mago Retreat Center in Sedona, Arizona. Those of you who've been to Sedona know that just going there, the red rocks, the energy vortex, it's amazing. And Mago Retreat Center is the perfect place for you to experience brain education in that setting. So check it out, really awesome. And Honors Haven is for those of you on the East Coast in New York, Ellenville, New York, about 2 hours from New York City. Another place where you can experience a lot about brain education, and ECO, the Earth Citizen Organization. So ECO is in Arizona, but also in New York at Honors Haven. And they do, as I mentioned before, sustainability and personal wellness for a happy, healthy community and planet.
Yes. So if you guys are interested in brain education, take a snapshot of all of these links or copy and paste them onto a notepad real quick.
Yeah, many things that you can get involved with, whatever fits your kind of passion.
Yeah, because again, it's not just this channel, or it's not just me and Gabby, or a small amount of people who do brain education. It's a lifestyle that is practiced through thousands of people. We have hundreds of instructors, and we are in many, many different countries around the world. So it's a global thing, and a global movement, and a global kind of community that you can take part in. So there are many options for you.
And there's more things being created every year.
Yeah.
So online and in communities around the world, brain education will be applied in new and different ways. And I'd be excited to see what you want to do with brain education too.
Yes. Yeah, so now it's time to wrap up our live. So if you have any final thoughts, questions, concerns, comments, things that you want to say, oh, I resonated with this, or oh, I don't get this, or anything like that is okay. Please type in the chat.
Yeah, like things you want to talk more or hear more about next time.
Yeah, even some things about like our personal story that you were like, oh, I really resonate with that part, or I have a question on that part. Anything is okay.
Yeah.
So please type your final thoughts in the chat. And as you do so, I want to remind you before you go about the super chat that we have. It's again that rectangular icon with a currency symbol. It's the middle icon in the 3 below the line that you chat. So if you click that, it's the super chat where you can donate any amount to our channel to help fund our content, to fund our activities. It'll help us do more things to get brain education out there, to provide this as a resource for more people in the world. So if you benefited from the contents of brain education, like the vagus nerve videos, the tapping videos, then please consider donating to our channel to help support us and the work that we do.
Yeah, and then, you know, share this video or some of the other videos here with your friends, your families who might not have had a chance to practice before, and, you know, see how they feel and answer some questions for them too.
Yeah. So thank you guys, as always, for coming to the live. And thank you, David, for always joining us on our lives too.
Thank you, Linda.
Like I said, if I were to invite anybody to talk about brain education, it's David, because he's been practicing for a long, long time.
Thank you very much. I'm
Yes.
really proud of what you're sharing with everybody here.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming, and stay tuned for our next live on BETV. And again, make sure you subscribe and check out Body and Brain TV that David is in, and you'll find a lot more content on that channel as well.
Yes, great
Okay.
job.
Subscribe to both channels.
And
Yay.
She made a meditation playlist.
Wow. Great job. Thank you.
That's the way to do it. Make a routine.
Yes, thank you. All right, we will end our live here today. Thank you all so much. Stay tuned for our next live. Subscribe to our email list, and you'll be notified about when our next live will be.